Hello everyone, welcome back to Gaming with Shoggoths. We are in Zaluki Prehistoric Park in the Prehistoric Kingdom Beta. I don't know why that was all so confusing to say, but it kind of was. Brain's not functioning, I guess, at this time of the day. So the start of this build, if you probably noticed there was already a rock formation there, and that's because I was just screwing around with making a waterfall in this area at one point, and I thought about incorporating that into this enclosure for the mammoths, and then I decided not to. I decided to go with like this cave idea instead, so I got rid of the waterfall, left the rocks to kind of form like the back of the cave. So that's where we're starting basically, because since the waterfall is not going to be there, you don't need to see me building it. Plus, honestly, I'm pretty sure I didn't even record it. Now that I think about it, because I was just messing around before I started building this enclosure. So yeah, as you can tell from the video length, this is a long one, and that's because it not only ended up being like the enclosure itself, but you know, there's also kind of a guest area, which is mostly made of like prefabs, but also like the viewing area I made myself. But it was just a whole bunch of different things coming together. It's kind of as if I was planning like a Cenozoic or Mammalia area, basically, like for the slightly more modern, quote unquote, modern prehistoric creatures. And saying modern prehistoric creatures is definitely an oxymoron, but I think you know what I mean. Like the ones that are closer to our time period. But, you know, we only have the one Cenozoic creature in the game so far, and that is, of course, the mammoth. But I kind of was setting this up as if I was going to have access to more, even though I know during beta the likelihood is slim that any other dinosaurs will come out until, or creatures in general, will come out until the early release. At which point this park file may not even be accessible. It probably won't be, I don't think, because I know like I can't access my alpha ones anymore. So like kind of having that forward thinking didn't really do me a lot of good, because I would have to redo it anyways in a new park in the future. But the idea, as I babble on about this, the idea was that like this would be like the section of the park where like you would have you know, your giant sloth and your mammoth and your saber-toothed tiger, all those kind of things, like all those sorts of animals that weren't necessarily all around at the exact same time, but merely, you know, you would have that part of the zoo that's like kind of the mammals of the Cenozoic era, and you know, some which lived in cold climates, some which didn't, you know, and it would just be that sort of a thing where they would all group around this area, and then the climates would change as you would go into different areas and stuff like that. So that was kind of like the idea, and that's why there's so much. Like I cut a ton out of this build because I kept changing things, you know, and stuff like that. Like, so sometimes the speed build might seem like it's jumping around, and that's because like I may have built something and then I was like, oh, I'm not going to use that, so like I didn't want to show it because it's just going to get torn down and replaced with something else. So that's kind of how this whole build went, but that's kind of how all my builds in Prehistoric Kingdom go. As you can see, the mammoth is scooting around there in the cave. It really was just slamming rocks together until it looked okay-ish. I wish I could tell you that I had some sort of method or trick, but I had zero method or trick. And I mean, I like it, but I'm not like 100% happy with it. But in the end, once it's all together, like I think it looks a lot better. Eventually, I decided to like move away from the white. I wanted it to look like it was all snowy and icy and stuff, but it's just, the white's just too much with how the sun is in the game. It's actually why I was working on it in the night for a little bit, was because it's just easier to look at. And that was pretty much when I decided that I should probably change it to a different color. So I think I do that here soon. But yeah, there was like a lot of tweaking with the rocks, and a lot of which like I cut out because it's just, you know, like seeing the rock building is cool, but on the other hand, like sometimes it's really repetitive. I mean, like this is a pretty excessive amount of rocks that go into this area. I think I did leave like most of this in though, since it does form like the back of the cave. So the idea here, and what you'll see in a little bit, I'll end up taking some of these rocks out, but like, so this is like the main mammoth area, and then I make kind of like a tunnel or a path, a crevasse, a canyon, however you want to put it, through the back of this cave to like another area, and I kind of want that to be like a, you know, like a area where they can get away from the crowds, although I'm still going to have like paths going back there and stuff. But it would be like a, you know, an escape area for the mammoths, but also like, you know, that's where you would have like a staff area and stuff like that. So you'll see that in a minute. It doesn't focus too heavily though in this, because I haven't finished it. That's like the one part where I was like, oh my god, there's so much that's going into this video. I just need to like stop here, and that'll be like part of another build, is doing that staff area. But yes, as you can see, I'm just like sticking rocks in everywhere, just trying to fill the gaps. It kind of looks like a huge rock slide happened, and like all these rocks like piled up. And then apparently I just sit there. How did I not catch that? Sometimes when I edit these videos, I do miss like these long periods of like stopping. I probably got up from the computer for some reason. I just didn't edit it out. So eventually the staff area is going to go behind those trees, but originally I put the trees and everything back there because I just wanted to see how it looked with like a closer backdrop than the mountains back there. Like I just wanted like trees behind it to see what it was looking like with like scenery behind it. I had fun decorating like with the shrubbery and everything. Like I really stuck heavily to the boreal biome stuff. You know, in my mind, like this is like fake snow, and because obviously it's just like out in the middle of, you know, of the park, so it's not like one area is snowing and the other isn't. But you know, it's all paint and artificial stuff to make it look snowy. Now that fence is just there to contain the mammoths, because I wanted to put them in there and see how, you know, how they looked in the enclosure and everything like that. So the fence is just there to contain them for now. Eventually I put in like actual like viewing gallery type things, but I just wanted to, you know, have a way to contain the mammoths so they're not all running around. But I wanted to, you know, see them in there. It's kind of funny, like when I started making this, it was a little small, like it wasn't tall enough for the mammoths, and then by the end, like it's super tall. You could probably like put a Camarasaurus, could probably go under most of that cave now, which is funny, but you know, it is what it is. It's a nice big cave for the mammoth, or mammoths. Now these are, as far as I know, all of the species, all the subspecies or whatever that are in this game, they're all woolly mammoths. What is it? Mammoth primuthus? Prime something. I can't remember. I just looked at it before I started recording, and now I can't remember. But yeah, they were all of that same subspecies. So I believe they're all woolly mammoths, if my memory serves me correctly. Man, and even like all this decorating, it's gonna get changed because so much stuff changes. Like I just, you know, I've said this before, like I don't pre-plan this stuff. So when an idea comes to me, I just do it. So sometimes that means that, you know, all the stuff that I just did goes to waste. But at the same time, like I really enjoy just kind of, you know, making whatever comes to mind. All right, so this is the back area, and there's not much to this area in the video. Like I said, I haven't finished it yet. Really, I just doodled with kind of experimenting with putting rocks along the wall, and then that was kind of it for a while. So yeah, this is basically just decorating the enclosure itself with logs and such. I will probably sound like a broken record, but I love rocks and trees. I especially love big trees, dead tree limbs, logs, things like that. So it really delights me to no end to be able to do this kind of stuff in my enclosures. And I just, for whatever reason, like the white, I think it's like the white and gray, like bark of the dead tree limbs really kind of, to me, just fit in with this. Because, you know, it's winter, so only certain kinds of plants are going to last through the winter. So, you know, you have that that no leaf look. And then, you know, it's also could be a harsh climate, so there could be lots of dead trees that just don't make it and yada yada. So, you know, it's, I think it has the right look for the theme. This entryway underwent a couple different transformations. And most of them I didn't like, were very aggravating, but I finally settled on like having these like wooden poles. I really should change the color now that I'm looking at them, because I do eventually change the color of the ground underneath them, of the walkway. Maybe they should be like a tan or an off-white or something like that to kind of go with that dead tree look again. But then I also just pulled out some of the logs to kind of, I felt like, one, there were too many, but two, like it would allow some like spots of light, and it looks kind of nice under there. And then because we have so many mammoth decorations, I was really all about just, you know, utilizing them in this build. You'll see some of the statues later and stuff like that. And, you know, I just, I really hope in the future we get more decorations, like some to represent like each of the animals, because I very much would like to have like, you know, a Camarasaurus sculpture or skull or neck bones or something like that with the Camarasaurus exhibit. And, you know, just different little statues and decorations that revolve around each animal. I mean, I can understand why they don't have that right away and why that's not like a #1 priority. I definitely want them to focus on, you know, things like the dinosaurs and the AI and just building in general. But it would be really nice to see like decorations that represent all the animals eventually, or, you know, at least a majority of them, a good portion of them. You know, the major species, stuff like that. Because right now we've basically got the T-Rex, the mammoths, and the Edmontosauri. Edmontosauri? Is that how you pronounce it? Edmontosauruses? I never know. But you know, it would just look really cool to have this sort of intricate decoration everywhere around the park. So I definitely took advantage of, like, you know, the mammoth decorations for this area. So this is obviously kind of like the main entrance to come in from the rest of the park. And then there's going to be another, like, eventually I end up copying that bridge kind of overpass thing over to the other side of this enclosure. And so that way, and it would kind of be like, you know, in a perfect world where we could control the flow, that would be like the exit from this area. And then you would go on to like another Cenozoic creature or another Ice Age creature, or, you know, whatever the theme was for this area. I am actually very proud of these handrails that I made, although I now realize, I'm thinking about it and I realize that I didn't put like kind of dividing bars in there. But other than that, I'm happy with these handrails, because the handrails in this game do not lend well to stair usage. Like, they're not great at all for using on stairs. So I finally was like, okay, I'm gonna try and make one on my own, and I did, and I'm happy with it, and it looks good, or, you know, it looks decent. It could probably stand for some fussing, but yeah, I was proud of myself. I'm learning. Now you might be catching a walkway with like a roof over it over there, but that I did that just to have like an idea of where stuff was going to be. So as I built this, you know, like I wasn't gonna have to delete a whole bunch because it was in the way. I do end up having to pull back a little bit when I do the final viewing areas, but I just did this, you know, it was just a floor, and then I copied the floor and lifted it for the ceiling and put some posts in. It took like 3 minutes, you know. It was just something basic, so I had an idea of where to build, like the staircase and where it would come down to meet the viewing gallery. It does end up being like kind of a tight fit in here, but I like it. It seems cozy. This one spot was giving me some trouble for a while. Oh, mammoths on the loose. So what happened here was I was making it a wall, or viewing gallery like wall, and I didn't like how it was turning out. And I was trying to do it on a curve, and it just wasn't working for me, so I built it over here, but I'd already torn down part of the fence, so the mammoths were just running everywhere for a while. while I put this up. And you can see there I kind of had to pull back the stuff, but you know, I'm glad I did it that way. Like, building that original, like, walkway didn't take much time, so I didn't feel like I lost a lot of time or anything. But I went from, like, kind of wanting a curve to actually going with a square, which just seems a lot easier in this game sometimes. Like, I know we have, like, rounded walls and stuff like that, but I don't know, like, I haven't quite found the right application for them, for me anyways. I did originally think about making a dome. Like, my original idea for the mammoths was to have like a dome, so that way it would seem like it was actually real snow and cold in there and everything like that. But the reality is that I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. Like, I know it's a... I'm watching that mammoth spin around. Like, that bug doesn't happen anymore where they just start spinning. But sometimes if you, like, change the terrain underneath them, it'll start them spinning. Which is kind of funny to watch, especially at that high speed. But anyways, yeah, I was thinking about doing a dome. And, like, I get the general idea. I mean, you basically build one piece and then you just copy it and make the big circle out of it. But I don't know. I feel like that's still ahead of where I'm at with this game. Like, I've never built a dome in Planet Zoo either. And my Planet Zoo stuff is pretty, I don't want to say boring, but it's not even this elaborate. And this stuff's not that elaborate, you know? Like, there's definitely some way more elaborate things going on in Prehistoric Kingdom than what I build. And I am constantly impressed by all of it. I watch so many, like, you know, YouTubers that do Prehistoric Kingdom and Planet Zoo, and I'm just always in awe of everybody. That being said, I will probably attempt a dome eventually. I mean, I've seen just so many amazing ones, like, it's a little intimidating. But I will try it. I gotta figure out what dinosaur I want to do it with. Maybe I should start small with like a mini dome. Like for the, I haven't done a Microraptor enclosure yet, so maybe in the future I will, maybe try a tiny mini dome for the Microraptors. I guess we'll see. So that path is what I was talking about earlier, like that, if there was going to be multiple enclosures here, which is, you know, it kind of how I was envisioning it in my mind, even though I know that that's not how it's going to end up being. Like, you would just make different paths that come off of this area and go to different parts nearby. So a couple days ago, I think it'll be a couple days once this video goes up. A couple days will have passed. I put up a poll to see who the next enclosure was going to be for in this park, either the T-Rex or the Torvosaur. And right now, as of right now, while I'm doing this voiceover, things will probably change. I memean, hopefully they change or we'll be tied. But right now, we actually have a tie. The T-Rex was holding on really strong for a while, and then... But I kind of posted it late at night, and a few more people have chimed in today, and it looks like everything is tied at the moment. So, yeah, well, I guess we'll see. Once I post this video and start building the new enclosure, that's when I will kind of officially close the poll and pick the winner. But, yeah, if you're watching this right now, you probably still have some time. Like, it's probably gonna be another day or so until I start the next build. Kind of taking a little break because this was kind of a long one here. And so yeah, if you're watching this right now and you haven't voted, you can go over to my community tab, and you can. It's probably most likely gonna be one of the last two or so posts on there, and you can vote for the T-Rex or the Torvosaur to be the next creature added to the park, the next enclosure made for this one. kind of working on some guest area stuff now and just some general decorations and whatnot. We're gonna put a little cafe here. I would like, I meant to do it and I just kind of spaced it, but I would like to actually name the cafe like Mammoth Meals or something like that. I stuck a mammoth on top of it and I took like the original logo off. But this is going to be some, in this area, just putting down some prefabs and then editing them to make them look more like, you know, to fit the color scheme going on and just the designs and everything like that. I really love the foliage for this biome. It's just the right color, you know, and I'm not even like a Christmassy person or anything like that, but it does totally invoke that Christmassy winter feel, this whole biome. And I love green, so, and red's a good color too. Green and purple is like my favorite color combination, but like green and red in a non-Christmas context to me is really good too. But I mean, there's nothing wrong with Christmas, but I try not to think of green and red as only a Christmas combination, you know? I like these little planters. I really want to like select them and then just copy and save them as a prefab. I really need to do that. Like I keep thinking about it and I keep just not doing it. But a lot of these prefabs have really nice little planters that I think would be great to copy to have other places to just make your life a little bit easier, and then you can customize them how you want. I'm a big fan of using these prefabs to, you know, just to I don't want to say like make it, well, I mean, yeah, make it easier on yourself. I can't imagine how long this area would have taken me if I hadn't used prefabs. Now there's going to be a lot, I mean, there's a lot of fence putting up, and I was putting up the posts and stuff, well, not the posts, but like trim on the sidewalks, and I mean, you don't want to watch me doing that for an hour sped up, for the sped up equivalent of an hour, so I tend to cut out, like, after that first little bit right there, I tend to cut out all the fence putting up and the trim adding, yeah, because it's, I mean, it's tedious to do. I can't imagine watching it. Watching all of it, you know. But yeah, this is the other walkway, and I just copied all of it and plopped it over here. And then proceeded to accidentally fill it in with land because I just I want to have nice like mountains on either side of it, because I really wanted it originally, like my idea with the path, the original one, the entryway, was to have it so that it looked like the mountains and the snow were like falling onto it. But I was testing it out to make sure like the visitors followed the pathing to go through it, and they did, and like that was fine. They would walk up the stairs and go into it as they should, but the pathing is a little I don't know, liberal, I guess, in what it allows, and which is great, because that means you can get them to walk over any kind of formation, any sort of prefab pieces you use, so that's awesome. But like, you gotta watch it, because I had the snow, quote unquote snow, coming down, so it looked like it was drifting onto the walkway a little bit, and it looked really cool. But when the people walk through, they would walk up it, and so I would just have all these people like standing on top of the mountain, and yeah, so obviously that's not gonna work. I mean, if I never put guests in here, like I don't usually run it with guests in here, I just do guests to test things out, but you know, in the long run, you want it to actually be realistic in the sense of like how the guests would access everything. So, and eventually I will have people walking through here and, you know, for the look of it. But yeah, I was just like, cannot have people walking on top of the mountain. That's not going to work. And I suppose I probably could put, like, eventually I do put railings through there. The same railings that are everywhere else in here. But I'm still kind of curious if that would stop them, because the drift goes out past where, like, the railings would have been. And when I had them in here, like, they were standing on top of the tables and stuff. So I'm not even sure if the railing would have stopped them from trying to walk up the side of the mountain if the drift still went into, you know, the pathway. So I don't know. Got a little air venting here. Just feel like these areas should have lots of windows and stuff, because eventually there's going to be a wall behind it. If you're still hanging on right now, you're a champ. Like I'm hitting that. Like I've been talking for 26 minutes mostly. I mean, I know I've kind of just gone quiet a little bit, but I tend to just ramble on while I'm watching these things and just talk about whatever seems relevant. We're getting close to the end, though. Eventually what's going to happen is we're going to just take a huge time jump forward once I get this wall up, I think. And that's because basically you're just... What I do after I finish this is, like, I do the exact same stuff on the other side. I build the building, and then I put up the same decorations that are on the other side. So we're gonna jump over that, save us our sanity a little bit. On a 30-minute speed build. I can't even remember how many hours of footage. Actually, you know, it wasn't that much comparatively. Like, there was a ton to begin with, but a lot of it, like, I chopped out because those designs and those ideas didn't make it into the final. I like zooming through all that really fast. Whew. I really, really hope in the future we get different, like, gauges, I guess, of mesh, this chicken coop wire mesh stuff, because I really like it. And I mean, like, the zoos in my area really utilize it, like, a lot, but it's much finer, smaller and finer, and you can see through it better, and it doesn't look so rigid. Like, it's pretty much like a mesh net that they have over a lot of, like, enclosures. But that's also with the animals, that, like, you're not worried about rampaging, like little monkeys and stuff, not necessarily big mammoths. But I mean, still, the fact remains that would be nice to use, especially in guest areas. Yeah, so at this point I've kind of skipped over the building the other side. You can see it down there, but just kind of decorating this last mountainous area. I love these logs. I love being able to change their sizes. Just so much freedom. I love it. So one thing I'm starting to do a lot is, I don't think it went by too fast or not, but I like to grab, like, the trees that are already out and just edit the group and just select a couple of them or one of them or whatever. And that way, like, I don't have to go through the individual trees to find which one, because as awesome as all of them are to have, like, it is kind of a pain sometimes to figure out which one is which, because all the evergreens look the same in a tiny little box, you know. So if I already have some out and I want to keep that uniform theme of the same trees, I usually just copy some of the trees that are already out and paste them all over the place. Here I'm just making a quick little planter, just to add some decoration, because it's kind of dull in there. I am going to probably decorate this area more and also put some trim, as you can actually see right here in this window. I'm going to put some trim in the windows and stuff like that, but I really just needed to, like, step away from this enclosure for a little bit, because I have put a lot of time into it. But this is the finished product. That's from the cave view right there. And the river. And see, like, if we had other creatures that would kind of fit this theme, I would maybe put a walkway along that river and have it go to another enclosure, stuff like that. And that's the entryway. I like how the entryway looks. Like the color, that color plus the trees, I think is really nice. So from the cliffs. I mean, I'm happy with it overall. There are some things that I'm probably going to tweak, like the color of these logs. And then I'm going to add some like decorations and stuff. I want to do something with these walls. And I guess we'll see what the future holds. But I'll probably do that in like the staff area and soon. And I will start working on either the T-Rex or the Torvosaur enclosure. Depending. Don't forget to go vote. We're just taking one last look at the general layout of the place. It is very, like, it feels very enclosed. And when there's a lot of people walking through here, like, it really is kind of crowded. But I don't know. I kind of like it. You know, it's a tight area. I feel like that would also, like, in a zoo, like, kind of push people through. You know, you'd walk through, you'd admire things, and then, you know, you'd make your way out. So yeah, that's going to be the end of this video. As always, I appreciate you checking out my my videos, and if you made it this far, you're a rock star, and I definitely appreciate it. As always, if you're new, consider subscribing, leave a like, comment, say hello. I love to hear from you guys, and I will definitely be back with more Prehistoric Kingdom real soon. Have a good one.